In an alternate universe, Obi-Wan Kenobi dies to General Grievous. As the report came in, Anakin Skywalker was heartbroken. The news of Obi-Wan Kenobi's death at the hands of General Grievous hit him like a speeder crash. Anakin's mind whirled with a tempest of emotions. He had lost not just a mentor, but a brother. Anger and sorrow intertwined, fueling a storm within his heart. His thoughts spiraled back to the Jedi Order, the very institution he had devoted his life to. They had held him back when his mother needed him most, leading to her tragic demise. And now, once again, they had restrained him, preventing him from being there to protect Obi-Wan. Anakin's fury blazed, consuming his grief. He blamed the Jedi for their rigid codes and unyielding doctrines, which had cost him so dearly. They had stifled his potential, held him back from saving those he loved. He could have prevented this, he was sure of it. He could have saved Obi-Wan, just as he believed he could have saved his mother. But the Jedi, with their strict adherence to rules and their constant warnings about the dark side, had only ever constrained him. His fists clenched as he paced, his mind a battleground of anguish and rage.
They held me back,
he thought bitterly.
They held me back, and now he is dead.
Anakin's fury simmered, threatening to boil over. The loss of Obi-Wan was a wound too deep to bear, and the blame he placed on the Jedi only deepened his resolve. Anakin was too hurt to look at the Jedi Council. The temple, once a place of solace, now felt suffocating. He needed to escape, to find someone who could help him resolve this seething rage. Arriving at Palpatine's office, the Chancellor welcomed him with a somber expression.
Anakin, I am so sorry for your loss.
But even the Chancellor's condolences couldn't soothe the tempest within Anakin. The thought of Obi-Wan's death boiled his rage further.
If only the Jedi had let you go with him, Obi-Wan would still be alive.
I'm going to kill Grievous. I will tear him limb from limb.
As you should. It is only right.
But then, Palpatine's tone shifted, becoming more serious, almost conspiratorial.
Anakin, you cannot afford to lose any more loved ones. I want to help you.
What do you mean?
If you kill Grievous, the war will be nearly over. But then the Jedi will take control, and the knowledge to save Padme will die with them.
Anakin took a step back, his heart pounding.
What did you just say?
The mention of Padme, her life in danger, added a new layer of fear and desperation to his turmoil.
The Jedi are not the only ones with knowledge of the Force, Anakin. There are ways, secrets they do not share. Secrets that could save her.
How do you know of such secrets?
My mentor taught me powers of the dark side that could help, powers that the Jedi would never share with you.
Anakin's anger surged. He ignited his lightsaber, pointing it at Palpatine.
You're the Sith we've been searching for.
The realization that Palpatine was behind the death of Obi-Wan hit him like a ton of bricks. His fury was at an all-time high, but Palpatine remained calm, not even reaching for his own saber.
I am not your enemy, Anakin. I only want to help you. Remember all the times the Jedi have failed you. They held you back, allowed your mother to die, and now Obi-Wan. You can strike me down now if you wish, but then you will lose the chance to save Padme.
Anakin's resolve wavered. He wanted nothing more than to kill Palpatine, to end the source of his torment. But the promise of saving Padme stayed his hand. If what Palpatine was saying was true, then he needed him. Anakin deactivated his saber, his mind a maelstrom of conflicting emotions.
What must I do?
First, we must secure order before the Jedi make their move. Mace Windu is preparing to depart for Utapau to confront Grievous. Once he leaves, we must strike at the heart.
Anakin felt a chill run down his spine. The idea of turning against the Jedi, his friends and mentors, was abhorrent, but the thought of losing Padme was unbearable. He nodded slowly, his path set by desperation and fear.
Good. Together, we will bring peace and justice to the galaxy. And, most importantly, we will save Padme.
Anakin first stopped at Padme's apartment, his heart heavy with the burden of his decision. As he entered, Padme could see the turmoil etched on his face.
Anakin, what's wrong?
The Jedi have threatened to take over.
Padme looked at him, searching his eyes. She could see how devastated he was, the pain and conflict tearing him apart.
What are you going to do?
I will defend the Republic. It's not safe here, Padme. You need to go to Naboo and wait for me.
Anakin, I can't just leave you here. Not now.
Please. I need our family to be safe.
Padme looked into his eyes, seeing the desperation and love that drove him. She didn't want to cause him any more stress, didn't want to add to the weight he was already carrying. She nodded slowly, her heart aching. Anakin pulled her into a tight embrace, holding her as if he might never let go.
Thank you. I promise I'll come back to you. I'll make everything right.
Just be careful, Anakin. I love you.
He kissed her softly, then stepped back, forcing himself to let her go. As Mace Windu left the temple, Anakin and the 501st Legion prepared to march. The weight of what he was about to do pressed heavily on his shoulders. As they walked closer to the Jedi Temple, Anakin's thoughts raced. It wasn't too late to turn back. He didn't have to do this. But Padme's life kept creeping into his head, her safety and the safety of their unborn child overriding all else. He thought of the Jedi and how they had wronged him, but that was a handful of people, a few at the top of the order. Inside the temple there were many innocent Jedi, younglings who had done nothing to deserve the fate that awaited them. The conflict within him grew with each step, a battle between his love for Padme and his conscience screaming at him to stop. As they reached the entrance of the temple, they were met by the temple guards who halted them. Anakin's heart pounded in his chest. He thought long and hard. The decision he had made now felt like a colossal mistake. His gut twisted with doubt and regret.
Run!
He yelled, and with a powerful force push, he sent waves of troopers back. The clones opened fire on the Jedi, and in that moment, Anakin made his choice. He ignited his lightsaber, but instead of attacking the Jedi, he joined them in defending the temple. Blades clashed, and the sound of blaster fire filled the air. Anakin fought alongside the temple guards, his mind a whirlwind of chaos. He had turned against the clones, the very soldiers he had led into battle countless times before. The raid on the Jedi Temple began with an eruption of chaos. The 501st Legion, trained and relentless, stormed the entrance with precision and firepower. Blaster bolts ricocheted off walls and lightsabers, creating a deadly symphony of battle. Anakin, his heart pounding, was caught in the middle, fighting against the very clones he had led into the temple. Inside the temple, the scene was one of pandemonium. Jedi Knights and Padawans scrambled to defend their sacred halls, their blue and green lightsabers igniting in the dim light. Anakin moved with a singular purpose, his lightsaber a blur of blue as he deflected blaster bolts and cut down attacking clones. He found himself in the creche, where the youngest Jedi, the children, were huddled in fear.
Come with me!
He shouted, urgency in his voice. The children hesitated, but a few recognized him and trusted his call. Anakin led them through the temple corridors, protecting them with his blade and using the Force to shield them from harm. As he moved deeper into the temple, he encountered more Jedi under siege. Masters and Knights, their faces etched with determination and fear, fought valiantly against the overwhelming tide. Anakin joined them, his skills and strength bolstering their defense. He fought side by side with his former comrades, his heart breaking with each fallen Jedi. In the library, Anakin saw Jocasta Nu desperately defending the archives. Anakin helped her, deflecting blaster fire and cutting down advancing clones, but the numbers were too great and the defenses were crumbling. Anakin moved from room to room, aiding where he could. He saved a group of young Padawans, directing them to a hidden passage that led to safety. He found Masters Chin Dralig and Sarah Keto locked in fierce combat with the invaders. Together, they fought back the onslaught, but the tide was relentless. The battle raged on, and despite his efforts, Anakin saw more and more Jedi fall. The temple, once a place of peace and learning, was becoming a slaughterhouse. His heart ached with each life lost, and he pushed himself to the brink, desperate to save as many as he could. But it soon became clear that the temple could not hold. The clones were too numerous, their assault too coordinated. Anakin knew they had to retreat if any were to survive.
Fall back! We need to get out now!
Gathering the survivors he could find, Anakin led them through a series of hidden passages known only to the Jedi. They moved quickly and silently, evading clone patrols and slipping through the shadows. Anakin used the Force to sense danger and guide them to safety. At last, they emerged from the temple into the night, a small group of weary and wounded Jedi. Anakin looked back at the temple, its once proud spires now shrouded in smoke and flame. He felt a deep sorrow and guilt, knowing he couldn't save everyone, but the lives he had saved, the children, and the few Jedi who had escaped with him, gave him a glimmer of hope.
We have to keep moving. We can't stay here.
Palpatine sat in his dimly lit office, his expression a mask of cold fury as he received the report. Anakin had betrayed him, choosing to defend the Jedi Temple instead of carrying out the order to destroy it. The failure was a significant setback, but it was not the end of his plans. The fallout of Order 66, however, was devastating for the Jedi. Across the galaxy, clones turned on their Jedi generals without warning. Friend turned against friend in an instant as the program directive took hold. The betrayal was swift and brutal. Palpatine's holographic communication network buzzed with reports from clone commanders. The once vibrant and powerful Jedi Order was being torn apart, their members hunted down and executed with merciless efficiency. In the Jedi Temple, the aftermath of the battle was a scene of horror. Smoke billowed from shattered windows, and the once immaculate halls were now littered with debris and bodies. The scent of scorched metal and burnt flesh permeated the air. Survivors huddled in hidden corners, their hearts heavy with grief and loss. Anakin reached the planet of Naboo with a heart heavy from the recent events. As he landed, he felt a surge of anticipation mixed with anxiety. He rushed to see Padme, needing her presence to ground him, to offer solace in this time of turmoil. When he entered the room, he stumbled upon a sight that made his breath catch in his throat. Padme was not alone. In her arms, she held two tiny babies, their newborn cries filling the air. For a moment, the sight of his family made Anakin forget everything that had happened. The horror of the temple raid, the betrayal, and the looming shadow of the Empire. All of it faded as he beheld his children for the first time. Padme looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and concern.
Anakin, meet Luke and Leia.
Anakin moved closer, his heart swelling with love and protectiveness. He gently touched each of the babies, their tiny fingers grasping at his. For a fleeting moment, he felt a peace he hadn't known in years. But the reality of their situation came crashing back in, and the weight of his actions and their consequences settled heavily upon him. He took a deep breath and looked into Padme's eyes. He recounted everything, his confrontation with Palpatine, the attack on the temple, and his role in defending it against the clones. He spoke of the Jedi's betrayal, Palpatine's manipulations, and the devastating Order 66. Padme listened, her face a mask of shock and sorrow. When he finished, she placed a hand on his cheek, her touch gentle and comforting.
Anakin, you've been through so much, but we can find peace together. The three of us. No, the four of us. We can leave all of this behind.
You're right. We have to leave. The galaxy is changing, transitioning into the Galactic Empire. It's not safe for us here.
They quickly made preparations, gathering what they could carry. Anakin knew that they had to disappear, to go somewhere where the Empire couldn't reach them. He could feel the Force guiding him, urging him to protect his family at all costs. As they boarded their ship, Anakin held Luke and Leia close, promising himself that he would do everything in his power to keep them safe. Padme stood by his side, her strength and love giving him the courage he needed. The galaxy was falling into darkness, but as long as they had each other, there was hope. As days turned into months, and months into years, life on the run was anything but easy for Anakin, Padme, and their children. They moved from planet to planet, never staying in one place for too long. They had to remain vigilant, always wary of Imperial patrols and bounty hunters. The once great Jedi Knight had become a fugitive, and the weight of his past choices bore heavily on his shoulders. They settled on remote worlds, often in harsh environments where they could stay hidden. Anakin used his skills to find work, often taking on menial labor far beneath his abilities, all to keep his family safe and fed. Padme, ever resourceful, adapted to their nomadic life, focusing on raising Luke and Leia in relative obscurity. She taught them the values of kindness, resilience, and hope, shielding them as best she could from the galaxy's growing darkness. Despite their efforts to maintain a semblance of normalcy, the stress of their situation took a toll. Anakin found himself plagued by nightmares, vivid and relentless. He would awaken in a cold sweat, the horrors of the past replaying in his mind. In his dreams, he saw the faces of fallen Jedi, the chaos of the temple raid, and the lifeless bodies of those he couldn't save. The most haunting visions were those of Palpatine, his malevolent grin and whispered promises echoing through the darkness. Anakin knew that if he had only killed Palpatine when he had the chance, the galaxy might have been spared the tyranny of the Empire. The burden of that missed opportunity weighed on him heavily. He often woke in the middle of the night, silently leaving the bed he shared with Padme to sit alone and brood. He questioned his decisions, wondering how different their lives would be if he had acted decisively against the Sith Lord. Padme saw the toll these nightmares took on Anakin. She offered him comfort and reassurance, reminding him of the good he had done and the family they had built together. But even her love couldn't fully ease the torment that gripped his soul. The guilt and regret festered, creating a deep-seated fear that he would never escape his past. Luke and Leia grew up sensing their father's inner turmoil. Despite his efforts to shield them, they saw the shadows in his eyes and the tension that never fully left him. Anakin did his best to be a good father, teaching them skills for survival and self-defense. But he often found himself wondering if he was doing enough, if he could truly protect them from the Empire's reach. One night, as Anakin tossed and turned in his sleep, he felt a familiar, yet distant presence through the Force. It was Master Yoda, reaching out to him across the vastness of space. In his dream, the aged Jedi Master appeared serene but resolute, his presence a beacon of hope.
Young Skywalker, much to discuss we have.
Master Yoda, how can this be?
Regrouped we have. In the shadows, surviving Jedi now prepare for a last stand. Need you, we do. The Chosen One, to lead us.
Beside Yoda, other familiar faces appeared. Mace Windu, stern and determined. Kit Fisto, with his reassuring smile. Agen Kolar, Sazi Teen, and several other Jedi who had evaded the Empire's grasp. They stood united, their spirits unbroken despite the darkness that had fallen over the galaxy. Anakin listened intently as Yoda conveyed the coordinates of their rendezvous point. The planet was Ossus, a remote world with a history tied to the Jedi Order. It was far from the Empire's usual patrol routes, its ancient temples and hidden enclaves providing the perfect refuge for a regrouping of the Jedi. Anakin woke with a start, the dream vivid in his mind. He looked over at Padme, who was sleeping peacefully beside him, and then at Luke and Leia, nestled close. The decision weighed heavily on him. He knew that joining the surviving Jedi would mean risking everything once again, but it also presented a chance to strike back against the Empire and fulfill his destiny as the Chosen One. In the morning, Anakin shared the vision with Padme. She listened carefully, understanding the gravity of the situation.
You have to go, Anakin. The galaxy needs you.
We'll find a way to stay safe until you return.
Anakin nodded, his resolve hardening.
I will come back for you. We will find peace.
With a heavy heart, Anakin prepared to leave. He knew the journey to Ossus would be perilous, but the call of the Force and the need to fight against the darkness that had engulfed the galaxy drove him forward. As he boarded his ship, he took one last look at his family, committing their faces to memory. Then, with a deep breath, he set course for Ossus, where the remnants of the Jedi Order awaited their Chosen One, ready to make their final stand against the Empire. As Anakin's ship soared through the galaxy, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The coordinates for Ossus were programmed into the Navi computer, and the stars streaked past as he traveled through hyperspace. He could feel the presence of the surviving Jedi through the Force, their hope and determination giving him strength. Arriving on Ossus, Anakin found a planet steeped in history, its ancient temples and ruins standing as silent witnesses to the past. The Jedi had chosen their hiding place well. The rugged terrain and dense forests provided natural cover, while the remnants of old Jedi structures offered shelter and resources. Anakin landed his ship in a secluded clearing and made his way to the rendezvous point. He was greeted by familiar faces, and for the first time in years, he felt a sense of belonging. Master Yoda stood at the center of the group, his presence a calming influence on the gathered Jedi.
Young Skywalker, arrived you have. Important, this moment is.
I'm here to help. What do we need to do?
Mace Windu stepped forward, his gaze intense.
We need to regroup and plan our counterstrike against the Empire. The Jedi Order may be shattered, but we are not defeated. We can strike back and restore balance to the Force.
Over the following weeks, the Jedi worked tirelessly to prepare for their rebellion. Anakin trained with them, refining his skills and reconnecting with the Force in ways he hadn't since his fall. He found solace in the camaraderie of his fellow Jedi, their shared purpose strengthening their resolve. They scouted the planet, identifying strategic locations and gathering supplies. Ossus, with its rich history and hidden resources, became their sanctuary and their training ground. Anakin led missions to recover lost artifacts and knowledge, believing that the secrets of the past could help them in their struggle against the Empire. One night, as Anakin meditated in one of the ancient temples, he felt a familiar presence join him. It was Master Yoda, his small form radiating wisdom and serenity.
Troubled you are.
I worry about Padme and the children. I left them to join you, but I can't stop thinking about what might happen to them.
Strong they are. In them you must trust. The path you walk, difficult it is, but necessary it is.
I won't fail them. I won't fail the Jedi.
A difficult choice. Guide you. The Force will.
As they continued their preparations, the Jedi received word from their network of sympathizers and allies. The time was nearing for their strike against the Empire. Anakin, now fully embracing his role as their leader, coordinated with the surviving Jedi Masters to plan their attack. The Jedi were not alone in their struggle. A burgeoning rebellion was forming, fueled by the determination and resources of sympathetic senators like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. Together, they had assembled a small but formidable fleet, along with many recruits eager to fight against the Empire's tyranny. The secret to their potential success lay in the rediscovery of ancient hyperspace lanes, known as the Paths. These routes, once used by the Nihil during the High Republic days, had been hidden for centuries. Recently uncovered by the rebels, these paths offered a strategic advantage, allowing for swift and covert travel across the galaxy. The rebels planned to use these lanes to launch a surprise attack on Coruscant, the heart of the Empire. Anakin stood in the war room on Ossus, surrounded by hollow displays of star maps and tactical plans. The room buzzed with activity as Jedi and rebel leaders worked together, preparing for the upcoming mission. Bail Organa and Mon Mothma stood at the center, discussing the final details of their strategy.
"We've confirmed the coordinates for the paths,"
Bail said, pointing to a highlighted route on the map.
"These hyperspace lanes will allow us to bypass Imperial patrols and strike directly at Coruscant."
Mon Mothma nodded.
"Our fleet is ready, but we need the Jedi to lead the assault. Your knowledge of the city and its defenses will be crucial."
We'll do it. The element of surprise is our greatest weapon. We need to hit them hard and fast, take out key targets, and sow chaos within their ranks.
Our primary objectives should be the Imperial Palace, the main communication hub, and the shield generators. Disabling these will cripple their ability to coordinate a defense.
As they finalized the plan, Anakin felt a surge of determination. Before the Jedi and the rebellion could depart for their mission to Coruscant, a transport ship landed on Ossus, its arrival causing a stir among the gathered forces. Anakin, curious and cautious, approached the landing site, wondering who had discovered their hidden location. As the transport's ramp descended, two familiar figures emerged, Ahsoka Tano and Captain Rex. Anakin's heart skipped a beat at the sight of his former apprentice and the clone captain. He was taken aback, especially seeing Rex, as the last time he saw clones, they were executing Order 66. However, he had since learned about the inhibitor chips that had forced the clones to betray the Jedi.
Ahsoka, Rex, what are you doing here?
We've come to help, Master. The fight isn't over yet.
General Skywalker, we may have aged, but we clones still have one last fight in us.
How did you find us, and what's this about clones ready to fight?
After the Empire began decommissioning us, I knew we couldn't just fade away. I've been rescuing as many clones as I could. We've been in hiding, gathering strength and preparing for a moment like this.
We were on a mission to hijack a decommissioned Venator-class Star Destroyer. We found one that was damaged but still usable. It was left to rot, but we managed to get it operational again. We don't have a full crew, but we have enough clones to put up a fight.
Anakin's eyes widened at the news. A Venator-class Star Destroyer, even with a skeleton crew, would be a formidable addition to their forces. As the last clone exited the transport, Anakin's heart skipped a beat. It was Commander Cody, his former ally and a familiar face from countless battles. Cody approached Anakin with a solemn expression, holding a small ornate box in his hands.
General Skywalker, I have something.
Anakin took the box, feeling its weight. He looked up at Cody, curiosity and apprehension swirling within him. Opening the box, he saw a familiar hilt resting on a velvet lining. It was Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
I recovered it during the Battle of Utapau. I thought it should be with you.
Anakin's breath caught in his throat as he gently lifted the lightsaber from the box. The memories of his former master, mentor, and friend flooded back. The loss of Obi-Wan had been a devastating blow, and holding his lightsaber brought both a deep sense of sorrow and a renewed determination. Anakin looked at the lightsaber, feeling the presence of Obi-Wan guiding him. He clipped it to his belt alongside his own, a silent tribute to his fallen master.
Let's make this count, for Obi-Wan, and for everyone we've lost.
The fleet emerged from hyperspace, the Resolute leading the charge. The element of surprise was crucial, and the ancient paths guided them through the galaxy's labyrinthine routes. As they approached Coruscant, the sight of the Imperial capital filled Anakin with a mix of dread and determination. The rebel fleet, bolstered by the presence of the Venator and its complement of clone troopers, surged forward. Starfighters launched from the capital ships, their engines roaring as they descended towards the planet's surface. The sky above Coruscant lit up with the fire of battle, the once invincible Imperial fleet caught off guard by the ferocity and precision of the rebel attack. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rex led the ground assault team, descending towards the city in modified LAAT gunships. The battle above provided the perfect distraction, allowing the ground forces to infiltrate the city's defenses. Anakin, holding both his and Obi-Wan's lightsabers, felt a deep connection to the Force. He could sense the presence of his fallen master, guiding him. They made their way to the Imperial Palace, determined to confront Palpatine and end his reign. Anakin, Ahsoka, and their team fought their way through the Imperial Palace, their lightsabers blazing as they cut through the ranks of Imperial guards. The sounds of battle echoed through the grand halls, a stark contrast to the eerie silence that had once pervaded the Emperor's stronghold. At last, they reached the throne room, where Palpatine awaited them. The massive doors swung open, revealing the Emperor seated on his throne. He rose slowly, his malevolent grin spreading across his face as he regarded the intruders.
So, you've returned. I knew you couldn't resist the call of the dark side.
Your reign ends today, Palpatine. For Obi-Wan, for the Jedi, and for the galaxy.
We're here to bring balance to the Force.
Balance. You speak of balance, yet you know nothing of true power.
Before they could respond, a shadow moved in the corner of the room. From the darkness emerged Barriss Offee, her face twisted with anger and pain. She ignited her red lightsaber, the blade casting an ominous glow on her features.
Barriss, what are you doing here?
I've seen the corruption of the Jedi Order. The only way to bring true justice to the galaxy is through the power of the dark side.
The tension in the room was palpable as the two sides faced off. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Barriss circled each other, the air crackling with the anticipation of the impending clash. Palpatine watched with gleeful anticipation, his eyes gleaming with dark satisfaction. The confrontation in the throne room crackled with intensity as Ahsoka and Barriss squared off, their lightsabers humming with lethal energy. The air was thick with the palpable tension of former friends turned adversaries, each move laden with the weight of their shared history. Ahsoka's blue lightsabers glowed brightly, a stark contrast to Barriss's red blade, which cast an ominous light on her face. They circled each other, each searching for an opening, their expressions a mix of determination and sorrow. With a furious yell, Barriss lunged forward, her red blade slicing through the air. Ahsoka met her strike with one of her own, their sabers clashing with a burst of sparks. The force of the impact reverberated through the throne room, the sound echoing off the walls. They moved with fluid grace, each strike and parry a testament to their formidable skills. Ahsoka's dual lightsabers allowed her to attack and defend with swift, coordinated movements, while Barriss's single blade, powered by her anger and the dark side, came at her with relentless aggression. Ahsoka spun gracefully, her sabers twirling in a defensive maneuver as she blocked a powerful overhead strike from Barriss. The red blade hissed and crackled against the blue, their faces inches apart, both strained with effort. Ahsoka leaped over a low sweep of Barriss's lightsaber, landing nimbly and countering with a series of precise thrusts. Barriss deflected them, her eyes burning with a mix of rage and sorrow. The battle raged on, the two women moving in a deadly dance of light and dark. Ahsoka's agile movements allowed her to stay one step ahead, but Barriss's attacks grew increasingly desperate and fierce. The throne room became a whirlwind of flashing sabers and searing energy. The ground scorched where their blades met. As the fight wore on, Ahsoka began to see the cracks in Barriss's defenses. She exploited these weaknesses with calculated strikes, forcing Barriss to retreat and defend. Each blow from Ahsoka's sabers pushed Barriss closer to the edge, both physically and mentally. With a swift, unexpected feint, Ahsoka caught Barriss off guard, disarming her with a powerful blow that knocked the red lightsaber from her hand. Barriss, desperate, called upon the Force to retrieve it, but Ahsoka was faster. In a final, decisive move, Ahsoka spun and delivered a precise cut with one of her sabers, severing Barriss's hands at the wrists. Barriss cried out in pain, collapsing to her knees as her lightsaber fell to the floor, deactivated. Ahsoka stood over her, breathing heavily, her sabers still ignited but lowered. In the midst of Ahsoka's fierce duel with Barriss, Anakin Skywalker faced Palpatine wielding his crimson lightsaber with a twisted grin, moved with a fluidity that belied his age. His eyes gleamed with malevolent glee as he sized up his opponent.
You've grown stronger, Anakin, but strength alone will not save you.
With a flick of his wrist, Palpatine launched a barrage of swift, precise strikes using Form 2, Makashi. His movements were elegant and refined, designed to pierce through Anakin's defenses with minimal effort. Anakin parried furiously, his blades moving in a blur as he deflected the Sith Lord's attacks. Palpatine's attacks were relentless, each strike probing Anakin's defenses for a weakness. Anakin countered with Form 5, Gem So, channeling his strength into powerful ripostes designed to overwhelm his opponent. The clash of their lightsabers sent sparks flying, the hum of their blades creating a symphony of battle.
Your anger makes you predictable, Skywalker.
He followed up with a lightning-fast thrust, forcing Anakin to pivot and block with Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Anakin gritted his teeth, frustration mounting. He shifted to Form 4, Ataru, incorporating acrobatic flips and spins to increase his mobility. He leaped over Palpatine's head, attempting to strike from above, but the Sith Lord was ready. With a sinister grin, Palpatine unleashed a surge of Force lightning, catching Anakin mid-air and sending him crashing to the ground. Palpatine advanced, his movements a terrifying blend of speed and precision. He combined elements of Form 7, Juyo, his attacks fueled by raw, aggressive power. Each strike seemed to sap Anakin's strength, pushing him closer to the edge of defeat. Desperate, Anakin tapped into Form 5 strength again, attempting to overpower Palpatine with sheer force. He lunged forward with both lightsabers, their blades creating a whirlwind of energy. But Palpatine was unyielding, parrying each blow with a casual flick of his wrist, his grin widening with each failed attempt. Despite Anakin's best efforts, he was being pushed back, his defenses crumbling under the Sith Lord's relentless assault. His breath came in ragged gasps as he fought to maintain his focus, but the realization that he was losing weighed heavily on him. Palpatine seized the moment of hesitation, unleashing another torrent of Force lightning. Anakin raised his lightsabers to absorb the energy, but the force of the attack drove him to his knees. The searing pain threatened to overwhelm him, his vision blurring as he struggled to stay conscious. Through the haze of agony, Anakin could see Palpatine advancing, his lightsaber raised for a final strike. Desperation clawed at Anakin's heart as he fought to rise, knowing that the fate of the galaxy rested on his shoulders. He couldn't afford to lose, not now, not when so much was at stake. Yet, despite his determination, the truth was undeniable. Palpatine's mastery of the dark side was overwhelming, and Anakin was being driven to the brink of defeat. The Sith Lord's malevolent laughter echoed in his ears, a chilling reminder of the darkness that threatened to consume them all. As the battle raged on, Anakin knew he had to find a way to turn the tide, but with each passing moment, the hope of victory seemed to slip further from his grasp, the shadow of the dark side looming ever larger. As Ahsoka stood over Barriss, trying to break through to her former friend, her voice was filled with genuine compassion.
Barriss, you don't have to do this. You're not alone. We can make things right together.
Barriss looked up, her eyes glistening with tears.
I'm scared. Ahsoka, I've been alone for so long. I see now that I was wrong.
It's okay, Barriss. We can find a way to heal.
In a swift, treacherous move, Barriss used the Force to stealthily grab her discarded lightsaber. With a sudden lunge, she plunged it toward Ahsoka's back. Anakin, still engaged with Palpatine, saw the betrayal at the last second. With a desperate leap, he intercepted the blow meant for Ahsoka, the blade sinking into his chest. Anakin fell to ground.
No!
Ahsoka screamed, her heart wrenching at the sight of Anakin's sacrifice. Her eyes began to shift colors, a dark, ominous hue creeping into them as the dark side began to fill her soul. Anger and despair flooded her, and she turned her gaze to Barriss, her hand outstretched. Gripping Barriss with the Force, Ahsoka began to choke her, lifting her off the ground. Barriss struggled, her hands clawing at her throat as she gasped for air. Palpatine's laughter echoed through the throne room, his voice dripping with malevolent delight.
Yes, Ahsoka, give in to your anger. Kill her.
But then, something extraordinary happened. Anakin's body, still laying on the ground, began to radiate a brilliant, blinding light. The intensity of the light grew, filling the room with a pure, overwhelming brightness that forced everyone to shield their eyes. Palpatine's laughter faltered, replaced by a look of shock and confusion. When the light finally dissipated, Anakin stood before them, dressed in all white, his presence radiating a serene, powerful energy. He looked different, more at peace than he had ever been. The wounds he had sustained were healed, and his eyes shone with a clarity and purpose that left the room in stunned silence.
Ahsoka, let her go.
What had been maybe a minute of Anakin's apparent death in the real world had been centuries for him in the netherworld of the Force. There, he was greeted by the Father of Mortis, a powerful being who had once tried to guide Anakin to embrace his destiny. Over those centuries, the Father helped groom Anakin into the role of the Father, the guardian of balance. Anakin returned to the physical world transformed, now embodying the pure light and wisdom of the Force. As he faced Palpatine, the Sith Lord was in shock, unable to comprehend what had happened.
This cannot be.
It's over, Palpatine.
Desperate, Palpatine raised his hands to unleash a torrent of Force lightning at Anakin, but nothing happened. The Sith Lord's eyes widened in horror as he realized he had been cut off from the dark side. Anakin had silenced the Force within him, controlling his midichlorians and severing Palpatine's connection to his power. Anakin raised an ancient relic he had brought back from the Netherworld, an artifact of immense power. The relic began to glow, radiating a pure, intense energy that filled the room. He pointed it at Palpatine, who struggled in vain to resist. The relic absorbed Palpatine's essence, drawing him into its core. The Sith Lord's screams echoed through the throne room as his form was pulled into the artifact, his power and presence being sealed away for eternity. The light grew blinding for a moment, and then it was over. The relic's glow dimmed, and it rested calmly in Anakin's hand, Palpatine trapped within forever, ensuring he could never return. The room fell silent. The oppressive darkness that had pervaded it lifted. Anakin turned to Ahsoka and Barriss, his expression one of calm authority.
Ahsoka, it's over. Barriss, you must go. Leave and never return.
Without another word, she stood and fled the throne room, disappearing into the shadows.
Are you all right?
I am now, thank you.
We have much to do, Ahsoka. The galaxy needs us.
Anakin placed a gentle hand on Ahsoka's shoulder, and in an instant, they were transported to the world where Anakin's family resided. The familiar surroundings brought a sense of peace and closure to Anakin. Padme, Luke, and Leia were there, their faces lighting up with joy and relief as they saw Anakin and Ahsoka appear before them.
Anakin!
Padme exclaimed, rushing forward to embrace him. Luke and Leia followed, their youthful faces full of happiness. Anakin held them close, feeling the warmth and love he had fought so hard to protect. After a moment, Ahsoka joined them, her expression a mix of relief and happiness.
We did it, Padme. Palpatine is gone. The galaxy is safe.
Padme looked into his eyes, sensing a change in him.
But what about the battle? The rebellion still needs you.
Anakin smiled, a serene light in his eyes.
They'll be all right. I've foreseen the outcome. The light will prevail. The Jedi and the rebellion.
Anakin then turned to his family, his expression one of profound love and tranquility.
There's something I need to tell you. During the battle, I transcended into a new role. The Father of Mortis guided me, and I have become the new guardian of balance.
Padme, Luke, and Leia looked at him with a mixture of awe and curiosity.
What does this mean?
It means that I can no longer live as I once did. I must maintain the balance of the Force, and to do that, I need to reside on Mortis. But I don't want to leave you behind. I want you to come with me, to live with me. It's a place where we could be together, where we could finally find peace and safety.
Padme looked at Luke and Leia, seeing their bright, hopeful eyes.
If that's where we need to go to be together, then we'll go. We'll follow you, Anakin.
Anakin's heart swelled with love and gratitude. He turned to Ahsoka, who had been watching quietly.
Ahsoka, you're welcome to join us. There's always a place for you with our family.
Ahsoka smiled warmly.
Thank you, Master. But my place is with the rebellion. They still need me, but I'll visit.
Anakin nodded, understanding her choice. With a deep breath, Anakin extended his hand. A bright, warm light enveloped them, and in an instant, they were transported to the mystical world of Mortis. The landscape was otherworldly, a place where the Force was in perfect harmony. They stood together in the serene beauty of Mortis. The weight of the galaxy's troubles lifted from their shoulders. Anakin, now the guardian of balance, looked at his family with a sense of peace he had never known.
Welcome to our new home. Here, we'll find the peace we've been searching for.
Padme, Luke, and Leia looked around, their faces filled with wonder and acceptance. They had come through so much, and now they were together in a place where they could finally rest.